We want to make sure that we provide opportunities through our programming and through our projects for people to really get their hands dirty, to really engage with others, to affect change through positive action. And we get energized by that process.
It is grounded in the same beliefs and spirit with which we did our work in the civil rights struggle, or movement, I would rather say. To be attached to Center for Transformative Action is just where we need to be, because I feel that we are at home there.
We became a formal organization in the year 2003 and actually affiliated with what was then called the Center for Religion, Ethics and Social Policy.
My experience at CRESP was just a wonderful period of my life. We weren't the only people doing human services in the community, obviously. There had been many before us and many next to us. But I think that we were a model, and in some cases we were innovators and leaders. When the Learning Web began, no one else was doing the kind of apprenticeship mentor work for youth at that time. It was the first. The same with the Community Dispute Resolution Center. Now mediation services aren't unusual, but back then that was new. Eco Village is another example. The idea of an intentional, environmentally designed community was new, certainly for Ithaca, and it's still pretty unusual around the US. The director then was Philip Snyder, and I have to give him a lot of credit here. He loved people coming in and saying, I have this idea. I was the practical end of our staff, and I was the one who would sometimes say, really? People are going to give money to that? How is that going to work? But Philip was a wonderful cheerleader and supporter for all those things, and he really made things happen that I never thought were possible. And Anka and others have continued this tradition in a beautiful and consistent way.
Jack Lewis was the director of Cornell United Religious Work when this center was founded in 1971. Jack was a wonderful individual who really believed in the organization, and one of the things he said was that the foundation of this center was the ethos of compassion, wanting to do something about pain and suffering in the world, recognizing that when others are dehumanized, I'm dehumanized also. That ethos of compassion is fundamental also to what we're calling transformative action now. Transformative action has this first component. That process of speaking out requires a certain amount of courage and often is quite risky. So that process in and of itself can be transformative. We need to actually look for the humanity in others, especially those with whom we disagree. While it's important to speak out when there's pain and suffering, we want to also spend a lot of our time focused on possible solutions to problems. If we lift up a positive vision, then other people are going to be inspired by that, and other folks are going to want to join in. So our projects are all about possibility, all about showing how another way is possible.
This whole idea of the Dorothy Cotton Institute started out as Executive Director Anka Wessel's idea, and her notion was to raise a few $1,000s to support probably a student to be a fellow with the name Dorothy Cotton Institute, and was very flexible as the idea grew into this tremendous vision that we have now for a very far-reaching international organization.
The core work that we do is clear, remains the same, but what goes around it sometimes evolves. And I like the idea that Anka and I can just talk about that, and she's very open to that process, and I can't tell you how much I appreciate that.
Anka is our faculty advisor, and so that's why we work really closely together on various initiatives. Working with her the past couple of years and trying to understand better the pillars of transformative action that Anka's instilled in the organization has really changed the way I view social problems in today's world.
Young people are clearly attuned to this idea. Coming with no prior knowledge of this and seeing a new possibility for their lives out of this kind of work, which is very exciting.
I think it does correspond with the way in which Cornell understands itself as being publicly engaged to provide service to the community, because they are strategically established as an entity independent of both Cornell and independent of Cornell United Religious Work, though housed in our building. They are able to address issues of social transformation with a degree of freedom and a degree of latitude that I think is very important.
I really appreciate an organizational home where we do not have to be afraid that whatever bold action we decide to take, as long as it stays legal, is going to be a conflict with our institutional home. That's a very powerful thing, and it's a really hard thing to find.
And that's been a local phenomenon for the last 40 years. And now we have the opportunity to move that into a statewide basis. And that's very exciting because it gives us an opportunity to spread our approach, our view of the world, transformative action, to a much wider set of communities around the state.
We need centers for transformative action in every community.
I appreciate that the thread remains true to its original roots and will go into the future.